I'm very excited to introduce our next two panelists. We've got here, she is a Vancouver WebFest veteran, braving a blizzard to speak at our inaugural event 5 years ago. She routinely guides clients in finding the story in their brand and mapping out how that story is best told across social media, blogs, video, and live campaigns as part of their marketing plan. Please welcome Stephanie Michelle Scott.
Yay! Glad you came.
And our next presenter has built herself an envious list of media, studio, and network contacts worldwide, and she has worked with dozens of famous actors, directors, and producers. Please welcome Holly Carinci.
Carinci. That's okay.
I'm sorry.
Hi.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Awesome. So I can hear that our mics are working. That's always the first step now, isn't it? Thanks very much for coming to our presentation. We're really going to dive into personal branding and how you're going to activate an incredible social media presence for yourself. But traditional media kind of comes to play as well. So we'll be adding some tips and tricks and things that you need to know when it comes to the traditional side as well. I've got 1 hour with you. And the best way to start it off is to introduce one of my dearest friends, colleagues.
That's Holly.
And she's going to start us off with, a few interesting little things. Of course, I'm Stephanie, and you can see that here's a little something. So here we are again, of course.
Just in case you don't know what we look like, there we are.
This is what we are. Here we are as well. So for those of you who are on social media and such, you'll find WildfireEffect is my Twitter handle and all social media Instagram handles, and HollyWords group is where you will find Holly. You want to take it away, my dear?
Sure.
Awesome.
I think we need one more clip. Because we're going to start with your stuff. Okay. We're going to be covering 3 very important subjects, and it's the only 3 we have time to cover right now. So we're going to go with, is social media important to actors, and if so, why? We're going to go with, I hate it, don't have time to use it, how do I do it? Because everybody feels that way. Including traditional media in my social media, and how do I do that? So I think that you have a...
So first, let's get a feel for the room. Who am I talking to here? Are we mostly actors, directors, creators, producers, virtual reality phenoms?
What do you guys do?
Actors, so actors
right
up first.
I wrote it for actors.
Actors, excellent. How about the directors or other types of excellent directors and producers?
Directors and producers, oh, great. They work too.
Makeup artist, excellent.
We love you. You are our friend.
Any ones that I didn't actually kind of call out for what you do? Talent agent, fantastic.
Welcome.
Media, oh, excellent. Another one that really has to understand their personal brand, right?
Yeah, I'm fond of the media. Good.
Well, for those of you who are, I just wanted to pull out some really interesting statistics that I was able to find. Those of you who are putting your brand out there in the digital world, social media is a really, really big part of it. And I just wanted to call out the fact that according to a statistic that came in just this year, if you put a video, and we're all really good at videos, right? We're probably the experts when it comes to video production. 12,000% more return by simply putting one of your videos or video clips up in the worlds of social media. Pretty awesome, huh? Now, who here has a Twitter account? Fantastic. Do you ever live chat? Follow a favorite show of yours, for example? I love The Walking Dead. And if any of you love it as much as me, then you know that the last episode of The Walking Dead had 112K. That's 112,000 people on the chat when that show was airing. Another really good thing to know. And of course, Deadpool. Fans of the show? Well, they had a box office release that is so amazing, and it's a lot to do with a social media strategy that spanned over many different types of platforms. So is it important, Holly?
Yeah, it's important. It's important. So first question is social media important? And I'm just going to pick the actors for now because it's easier. Everybody else can relate. To an actor's career, I think everybody by now, unless you've been living in a bubble, knows that, yeah, okay, it's important. But how important? And from a publicist standpoint, I can tell you It's critical. It's really, really, really important. Does anybody know the top 2 reasons why an actor's social media numbers are important? Anybody here know why? Yeah?
To know your fan base.
That's a good one. Yeah, get to know your fan base. Know how to communicate with them then.
People want to see that you can sell something, that you make people behind you.
Yes, that's good. That's good. And yes?
That you're relatable, that you can connect with your viewership.
That's good. And one more? Did you have
Well, I
something?
was going to say you bring an audience with you
That's right. And to who?
to the product that you're working on.
To the producers. Okay. Number 1 really important thing is if you have producers and directors and casting directors, and some of them say, no, we don't do that. They all do that. Okay. So let's say your first choice for a really big role. It's a new NBC series. It's coming to Vancouver, and your first choice, and you're on hold. Sometimes the director and the producer, as you well know, cannot decide on who they're going to go with. It's a tie. They're both so brilliant. It always starts, I want to back up and say it always starts with talent. Please don't think it doesn't. It's always talent. But there you are. You're up against another talent. Can't break the tie. What's going to break the tie? They go to socials. The reason they go to socials is what we used to call bums in seats. Because with that person, they're going to bring a whole huge fan base. And we're talking about, tens of thousands to millions of people are going to come with them. So that's the most important thing. Casting directors. Sometimes casting directors are these days, and the agent who's in the audience might know this. Sometimes, depending on the role, they will actually decide on who they're going to see depending on their social numbers. Of course, not always. They still have to have talent, number 1. But sometimes, yes, are they coming with some good social numbers? Social media is so integrated in the whole process now that it's very important that you're a part of it. Okay? Second thing that a lot of people don't know, but I've been running into for the last 2 years, is, believe it or not, actually media. So I often pitch people who are called emerging talent. So they're just busting out. We have a good story, but they've never been heard of. They've been doing really good roles, and here they come. I'm taking them up to the next level, or we're trying to go to the next level together. I am starting to hear, and I don't like it, but I am starting to hear, what are their socials? So they're waiting to find out what the socials are before they decide if they're important enough or not to feature. Okay? There, have I sold you all on how important it is? So the first step to media in both traditional and in social is knowing your brand. And if you are an actor, as a lot of you are here, then the brand is you. Okay, you are the brand. Think of it as a business. That's what you are. You're the brand. So the first thing you have to know is yourself. The second thing you need to know is your news. You have to have news when it comes. And again, I'm basing my part from traditional and then working it into social. She'll take it just from social. Steph will.
But realistically, we've worked together for how many years now?
Quite a few.
And when we're working on a campaign for one of the clients,
Yeah.
how often do you think we talk about traditional and social media?
Yeah, it's all part of the game.
Yeah, it's a
It all has
daily
to work
interaction.
together. All right, so I'm more the color. She's the play-by-play. You have I'm sorry, I keep doing that. And also your goals. Those are the 3 things I would love to see you walk away with this. So you need to know yourself, you need to know your news, and you need to know your goals. And when I say yourself, that's not what your favorite first grade teacher was. Okay, don't go into an interview with that. That's not going to work. But I'll give you an example. Actually, Ryan Reynolds, because he's a local boy, is a good example. His first show that he did was for Nickelodeon called 15. And that obviously did not jet him into stardom. But he jumped in a car with, actually at that time, Chris Martin was a client of mine. And they drove down to Los Angeles. When they were in Los Angeles, the very first night they were staying there in a super cheap motel, his Jeep was taken, rolled down the hill, and all the doors came off. And he proceeded to drive around Los Angeles for the next 4 months with no doors on his Jeep. Now he's a superstar. Now we have Deadpool. And that is a story that if he went in, and I'm not his publicist, but if he went in and told that story, that's the kind of history they want to hear. Those are the kind of interesting tidbits. So if you have anything like that, great. If you don't, you can actually make that into a story. You know what? I am just the most normal kid. I had the most normal family, and here I am in Hollywood, and I don't know what the F to do because it's crazy here. So you can do that, too. There's lots of different ways. Where am I?
Just stories.
Okay, so your news. Your news is usually going to be the role that you just landed, obviously. So know what you can talk about and what you can't talk about. We're all familiar with those nasty NDAs. If you have a publicist working for you, then you make sure that he or she takes care of that for you. But know your hooks. Know if you can talk about the lead actor, et cetera, et cetera. And this is going to merge over into social media. All of the points that you're talking about are key hooks for social media. All right? And your goals. That's a big one.
When you say NDA, though, does everyone in the room, have you used the NDAs before? It's not weird terminology.
Oh, sorry about that.
NDAs? Oh, yeah.
Non-disclosure agreement? Yeah.
Extremely.
Okay.
And these days, aren't they using them like all the time for everything you can possibly imagine?
I'm
like
constantly sidestepping NDAs. There's an NDA there. There's an NDA
Yeah,
there.
never.
Goals, something a lot of people don't think about when you're planning your social media and when you're planning your traditional media. The first thing I do when I sit down and I'm talking to someone who may or may not, we may or may not work with, is what are your goals? Because you're not going to be doing this for your ego or anything like that. Where do you want to be? Okay, that is incredibly important. Even if you're at the very beginning of your career, remember what your end game is. Please make a plan. So you do that with your traditional media, and you do that with your social media. All right?
I think we could play a bit of a game, just to get you guys a little warmed up. What do you think?
Oh, we're
You
doing the
game?
why game.
You in? You in?
All right, you ready? Okay, everybody stand up. Come on. Everybody grab another person. Decide which one of you is going to be the interviewer, and which one of you is going to be the interviewee. Okay? You don't worry, because you're going to switch afterwards. All right. Interviewee. Everybody, no. The interviewee, you are going to have a story. You've just landed a role, and you're trying to tell the interviewer about it. Interviewer doesn't get it, doesn't understand, wants to really try and figure out if you're for real. So what are they going to say? Nothing but why. Why? Why? Why do you like that? Why do you like this? Why do you do that? Why? Be prepared to go into every single situation knowing your answers to why. So the interviewee, you have just landed, and I'm blanking on her name, the role of, run over there and take
Running over there.
Anne.
Her name is
Anne
Duro.
Anne Duro in the remake of King Kong. I don't care if you're male or female. That's your role. Start pitching it to the other person, to the interviewer. Interviewer, why? Are you doing that? Okay, everybody, how was that? Well done, you guys.
Nice,
You all got
good.
into it. Good job. Now it's the other person's turn. Okay?
Okay, everyone, stop the pitching.
You guys are really good.
Stop the pitching.
Not-
Switching roles now.
Yeah,
We have another
switching-
scenario.
That's right. Now, the interviewer is now the interviewee, and you have landed a role as
Captain Quince
on the remake of Jaws. Go. Look at this one. This one's taping. This one's doing a full tape. I love it.
That's
Hey,
awesome.
we made it through the first part. It was fun. Okay, everybody, how hard was that? Everybody, thank you. Great job. Good job. Way to go. I'm so glad so many of you are actors. It's okay, you can sit down.
Okay, so I've got a question for those of you that are in the audience. Interviewers, are you going to run the story? Seriously, you're going to run the story? Did you get some good stuff? Yeah? Awesome.
Did you realize how hard it is to answer why? I cannot tell you how many times I have been on the phone or in the room or whatever, and we're doing an interview, and the media member is just not, like, they're just not buying it. They don't think this person's important. You have got to have an answer for why. And also, Steph will tell you when she's doing her presentation, is that social media too. Man, they can be vicious. They can come at you. So you got to be ready, okay? This is why I love it. All right? Good job, guys.
So, seriously, guys, let's get serious here. Is this you? Do you think, social media, I can't stand it. I absolutely hate it. I don't have any time for this stuff. I'm way too busy. And how the heck do I do it? Right? Well, the reason that you're having these questions is because you're focusing on the exact right things. I know, that sounds crazy. I'm going to say it again. You're having a hard time with social media because you're focusing on the right things. Coming back to yourself, your news, and your goals. You are spending so much time trying to figure out this busy life and how you're going to make it work that you're forgetting that the answer to how to do social media lives in those 3 very simple things. So let's talk about yourself. This is where you're going to be able to find all those really important pieces of information that you want to have a conversation about. The better you know yourself, the easier it's going to be for you to interact on social media. Your news, well, who am I talking to? If it's news, then there are very specific target groups that are interested in hearing that story. By coming down to your news and knowing exactly what those hooks are, the same ones that Holly uses so much in traditional media, you're going to be able to target where the conversation should be and who that audience is. And of course, your goals. Why are you doing this? It does take time. It's a lot of fun, by the way, but it does take time. And if you have, everything that you do in social media should be pushing towards a very specific goal. So coming in.
Yeah, okay, I should let you do it. And if you don't, I just want to add to that, then that might be why you're struggling, is because you're not getting the right followers. So if you know your goals and what it is that you're doing and you have your story points, those people are going to jump on board. Makes it a lot easier for you.
So, and the other thing that is difficult, and the reason you might be having some difficulty, is that you really only have about 5 seconds to capture the attention of your audience. So those media hooks, and when you're talking about yourself and your goals and such, you need to be able to catch it really quick. And just to give a feel for that, do you want to play a very quick game? Just a very, very quick one.
Yes, they do. Come on.
Very awesome. Here's what we're going to do. We want you to describe, we're going to give you a role, and just scream it out loud. We're not pairing you up in this case, but scream it out loud. I want you to describe what your role is, and I'm going to give you 5 seconds to talk about something interesting. You are a jazz player playing roofer. Tell me about it. Jazz player roofer.
Look at the look on your face.
4, 3, 2, 1. Tell me one thing that's important about being a jazz playing roofer. Rhythm. Yeah.
I got rhythm.
Okay, we got a second one. You have 5 seconds to tell us about what it's like to be a synchronized swimmer. 5.
What's cool?
4, 3, 2, 1. Done. You're getting better at this, so let's get a little bit harder. Tell me 5 seconds to tell me something important about being a tree psychologist. Done. That's 5 seconds. Expert round? Expert round, are you ready? You have to tell me something important about being a tiny home realtor.
Any mortgages?
Awesome. Done. So that's how long you've got your audience. And that also works in social media. Finding those hooks extremely quickly is very important to you. So let's give you a few tools. What do you say? First, you need to know about what you're talking about, the different types of mediums. I believe that actors, directors, producers, creators, and such basically have 3 big ones to focus on. Now, Instagram, I'm sure you all have accounts, right? Have you ever wondered, what the hell am I putting up on that account? Well, in the case of personal brands, start thinking about Instagram as a visual resume. And the pictures that you want to put up on Instagram are the ones that are going to attract the most interesting conversation. You think about it that way, and you're going to be finding those awesome shots of not you and your breakfast, but maybe you and the lead actor that's in the role with you. Simple?
So start collecting This is what I always tell my clients. Start collecting right when you're on set. We'll get you cleared for the NDAs, behind-the-scenes shots. Nothing in costume, because that's a giveaway. Storyline breaker. But yeah, collect those shots for when the time is right, and then you can start putting them up. They're golden.
So Facebook, a lot of us have kind of, we're unsure what we're going to do with our Facebook accounts these days. And that's fine. But Facebook owns Instagram. So it is going to be important that you actually put together a Facebook page for yourself. We personally recommend that when you're working on personal brands to separate your professional profile from your personal. And if you're in the case like some of our clients, then you may even want to lock down your personal so that no one has access. That means that you and mom and grandma can talk about what you had for dinner last week, but the rest of the world doesn't get to know about it. So think about your Facebook page as a place where you're going to offer some very exclusive information to your fan base. These are people who love you enough that they are going onto your Facebook page and finding you. So think about niches, think about interest groups, think about those goals, those personal goals that you have. That's what you want to put on the Facebook pages. And of course, Twitter. Number one powerful opportunity in order to connect with a big fan base. So remember that stat about The Walking Dead? Can anyone remember what that stat was? Okay, I thought it was interesting. 112,000 people in 1 hour program watching together and getting excited about it. You can leverage those mass fan bases if you get to know your Twitter following interest groups. Pretty good so far? Do you need some more tools? Okay, let's give you some more tools then. Because yourself is the most important part, right, Holly?
Yep.
I am going to give you all a personality test because I do believe that the most important thing when it comes to social media is understanding the way that you naturally like to interact and converse in the world. Because social media is really about conversation building, right? We've all found that. Those that are extremely successful are really, really great at starting conversations, targeted to their goals, but still. So who here has heard of the Myers-Briggs personality test? Some of you may already have a typing system on it. I'm going to run it by really, really quickly because for some it's a completely new concept. I want you to start thinking about yourself and the way that you gather information and make decisions in the world because it's going to give you some really great insights on how to use social media. Okay? Sorry for those that already know it. It'll be a review for you. The Myers-Briggs test takes a look at the way that you recharge your batteries, for example, and puts you in a category of calling yourself an introvert or an extrovert. Who in the room charges their batteries by themselves? Who charges their batteries when they're out there with people? Okay. Introverts charge by themselves, extroverts, people. That's all that means. In decision-making processes, they have something called thinking versus feeling. Now, it's a really crazy, silly term. All it means is that when push comes to shove and you have to decide how to utilize their very limited time and you're making a decision, are you going to base that decision as being good because of the things in your environment, the statistics, the averages, the objects, the things, the props that you're using? Or are you basing that decision on how it affects people? So who here thinks they are falling more on the thinking side versus the feeling side? Thinkers in the room? Feelers in the room? Okay, you just have to know for yourself. Next criteria is information gathering. I love this one. If you know this person, I bet every one of you knows this person. They're walking around set, and they're saying, "What's this? Oh, awesome. I love, that's such a beautiful jacket. It feels so good." Those are the sensors. They love using their senses to figure things out. If that's you, you're in the sensing category. The one that walks onto the set, and I saw this. I was working on a Suspicious River once, and basically the director, entire set had floated down this suspicious river. And she walked onto set, and the first thing she did is she went, that's an intuitive type. Somebody who just gets a feeling for the entire thing. The last thing that you need to know about yourself is how do you organize. If your desk at home has a in and out, then you're a judger. If your desk is like mine, you have in, out, little grade school. Next week I'll try and figure it out. I think Judy should figure that one out. Too complicated for me. And can I just watch TV pile? Right? That's a perceiver. Think about that for you, because it's important here. You're going to want to check out, after this session, something called 16personalities.com. It's a 100-question test that's going to put you into a few different categories.
Who here has all of them?
Every one of us does have all of them, and that's the thing that's really important, too. You're always a spectrum. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. So if you are the type of individual that falls into a category of mostly sensing and judging, we call that a sentinel. And a sentinel is the type of person, like our good client, Corey, who went on set and he did a behind-the-scenes day by day. Went on Snapchat with the permission of production, full written permission of production, and that's really important. And he went around the entire set and he showed his friends, this is what my trailer looks like, check out this awesome lighting system. He was a bit of a describer, a documentarian. And his fans were like, oh my God, exclusive material, I love it. That's the type of thing that you can use in order to grab your fan bases and bring them closer to you.
So the stuff that Steph is describing to you is simply that too much in life we are pushing, the old proverbial boulder up the hill. Don't do it. It's already hard. Social media, we've all, agreed that it can be time-consuming and hard. Do your little bit of research, figure it all out, see what you do the easiest, and then go ahead for it. Okay? Just thought I would throw that.
No, I totally agree.
I'm actually getting tired of not talking. Okay.
On we go. So let's go into a different type of personality. An analyst. These are the ones that are, they're the most incredible educators out there. Okay, so it looks like this slide presentation doesn't like our photograph.
Yeah, it doesn't. Not at all.
But if you could see it, you would see it's actually from War for the Planet of the Apes. And an analyst is the type of individual that, because they're so good at collecting all of these things in details, but they're also really good at kind of seeing the bigger picture of things, they're great at educating. So if you find that you are an analyst, think about tips and tricks. Think about educating people on the behind the scenes, like Adam did in this particular case.
Michael Adams, wait?
Yes.
Yeah.
Michael Adams, and it was a really, really great campaign that we put together that showed all the behind-the-scenes photographs of what it was like becoming the ape.
Luca becoming the apes. It was very fascinating, actually. Yeah, everybody liked it. The media went crazy over it.
Crazy, yeah. Well, we had so many news stories.
Yeah. So if that's your thing, that works.
So was that person doing that at the time? Like the time that they were doing it, or did they share it afterwards?
After.
They showed it afterwards. What happened there, though, is that they have an agent in LA that I work with sometimes. And unfortunately, for some reason, they didn't call us until the day before. I think it was the day that premiered for the media, and it was the next day it was opening. So I don't know. That doesn't. I guess what I'm trying to say is, if we had him a lot earlier while he was shooting, there's a good chance I would have been able to get that kind of stuff out too. So it's not a definitive answer as to before, after. Always be prepared to do it after, when the movie, first night it premieres. That's a good way to go. It keeps you safe.
And I always like to consider, when you're putting together your own media strategy, think about what it's like to have the ongoing media that you kind of maybe push out every single day, and the blitzes, where maybe there are 3 or 4 different campaigns happening simultaneously. Maybe you're getting all of your friends to help you with it. This kind of material is great for a blitz, when everyone's excited to talk about the story and the news. So an explorer type. You'll find an explorer type is one that likes to connect the senses to as a perceiver type as well, okay? And that's the way that they organize. They're great storytellers. Like, they love to draw you into the story. And Dwayne is one of these examples of how his story became so inspiring that...
Yeah, she could compete with Leo for press. You know, people think that having a client on The Revenant, oh, well, that's a slam dunk. No, it's not. Not when you have Tom Hardy, not when you have Leo, et cetera. The media are going to say, why would I want to talk to your guy? Never even heard of him. But the storytelling there is that he had started, he'd lived on the streets from when he was 10 years old for about 20 years, and he started drugs when he was 10, and he started drinking when he was 10. And the meaning of a revenant, and just in case you don't know, is coming back from the dead. So when I pitched the LA Times, I said, this is actually, you know, you've got all these stories, et cetera, but this man is a real revenant. He actually epitomizes the word revenant. And told the story, and they jumped on it instantly. And also, he's all better, and he's about to walk down the red carpet on Hollywood Boulevard. And he actually ended up, with all the press that he got, he ended up being invited to the Oscars. So I got to drive him to the Oscars, so that was pretty cool, too. But again, it was just a really great story.
And in the case of Dwayne, he is a storyteller by nature.
Yeah.
So when you meet him, and one day we do hope that you will find that he'll go right into the stories and it draws you in. And you want to be drawing your audiences on social media in the same way.
So it's important the type of media that you're doing, it really fits comfortably with who you are, again, because that's what he likes to do.
Diplomats. I'm a diplomat. Don't know if you could tell or not. We love community building. So if you also find that a diplomat is your style, think about ways of connecting with your audiences and your fan bases. Commenting, following, liking, interacting, those are the things that are going to make you a success story on your own social media. So if what you like to do is build communities, then start building them. Think of the interest groups that would be most excited to talk about something that is a part of your media goal, and start having those conversations.
May I?
Yep.
So David Hayden-Jones had been the star, the handsome man that the girl falls in love with for Hallmark and Lifetime, et cetera, and he landed this role, and that's when he came to us as Mr. Catch. I don't know. Anybody here watch Supernatural? Okay, so you know who Mr. Catch is. Way cool. We knew what our end goal was right away. Let's take him from as much as Lifetime and Hallmark, handsome, lovely men to marry is a wonderful thing. Let's show the opposite side. So we went full on out, full bore for James Bond with really, 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 really big ass Q things. What are those?
Guns, yeah.
And the media just went for it. And once we had got that rolling, then I was able to work with the CW publicity department saying, look, we have got such a huge fan base growing here. Look at how rapidly we're growing. You got to start making us graphics, especially for our client. And they would have never done that. They have their stars, and that's who they take care of. And they did, and it just exploded. So there's a community that's building your community.
So do a bit of a review on those 4 different types of personalities. And by the way, you're going to take the test afterwards, and trust me, you'll use the personality typing in more than just your career. But remember, if you're a sentinel, you might be the type of individual that feels most comfortable describing what's going on in your environment. And you'll be drawing your audiences towards you by doing that exact thing. Remember that if you're an analyst, you're an educator. And educators can showcase how you got to the acting gig or how you created the show when you were producing it. You may not be able to talk about the stunt you're doing, but you can talk about the training that got to the stunt, as an example. Remember that if you're a storyteller type, that would be our explorer type, then you're going to be the type of person that just draws people into stories. Tell them. It only has to have a beginning, a middle, and the end to qualify for a story, and we're all great storytellers. And of course, if you're a diplomat type, think about how you're going to be connecting to your communities, the interest groups that are going to be most excited to support you as you're growing your social media presence. Simple, right? Now, does it help that we've told you a couple of ways of thinking about content in different ways? And you're going to start thinking and trying and experimenting until you find the one that works best for you? Yeah?
I'm not getting a lot of commitment from this right now.
Who's going to try it? Who's going to try it a different way? Awesome. Excellent.
It'll make it easier for you. You will.
So let's talk about more things that you really need to know. Algorithms. So for those of you that have been just starting on social media, this may be not even in your kind of brain works. But if you've been on social media as long as I have, which is looking at, what year are we? 10 years? Probably 10 years-ish. Then you know that, yeah, you used to put something up on social media and all of your friends were engaging. You had 100 likes on it. There was a lot of back and forth conversations. As a matter of fact, you met your best friend through Twitter. And now you put it up and no one sees it, right? Right? This is due to something called an algorithm. And that's a big fancy word. But really, all it means is that the computer is trying to give you the best results possible, and it's hiding your information from the people that you're trying to have a conversation with. So I'm going to just run down a couple of things that you need to know these days, that's this day, this year, in order to get your message out to the groups that you're targeting, right? First thing, we already know about the content styles, but did you know that the robot that decides if you get to be seen, or you get to be seen, or you get to be seen, is going to value the content higher if you experiment on the way that you present it? So when they put out a poll, or an Instagram story, or they have stickers or filters or something that you can play with on the app, play with them. If you're one of the first ones to use some of these different types of technologies, the computer knows this, and they're going to start putting you in front of more people that you want to talk to. There is hacks. I call them algorithm hacks. But look to the one side of you and look to the other side of you right now. Those people around you are your best friends in order to get your message out in social media. So there's something called a pod. Is that new terminology? No one has ever heard of a pod before? Okay. Shh, I'm going to tell you a secret. So when you are posting about a show, perhaps it's like an opening that you have where you're going to be performing, or you want to showcase something that's going on, the day that you decide to post that really great information, you've got the graphic up, or maybe you've got the video that's going to play, contact all the actors that you're working with, your producers, the people who are on set, and say, at 4:15, I'm going to post this. When I post it, I need you to go online and like it, comment on it, and share it. Because the more interaction and engagement a social media post gets in the first 5 minutes, 15 minutes, I don't know what the official length of time is, the higher you get pushed up. And the more important you become, and more people will see it. Just a little hack. Trending. Trending is another one that's great.
Yeah.
Who knows about trending?
Up a lot. You can set them up yourself.
Trending. Okay, so you know about trending. I'm going to call on you to tell us a little bit about what trending means in the world of social media.
It occurs like when a bunch of people are talking about one thing all at the same time. Often it's regional. You'll see different parts of the world talking about different things. It often is sports-related, TV-related, or movie-related.
Very good.
Yeah.
And the reason for those topics is because they have so many followers. Those people, if you're a movie or a big athlete or whatever, you have so many followers, they're all tweeting about you, you're going to trend. Exactly. You can create that yourself. That's what Steph is describing. You can just have all your friends and their friends and their friends and their friends, and you all go online at the same time, and you trend.
Yeah, we really believe that coming back to those 3 really important points, know who you are, know what your news is, and then know what your goal is. All of those play together in the media plan or the media strategy that you put together, and part of that is figuring out these hacks and how you can get your story in front of the most people. So another thing, this is something that I find a lot of people who are starting out do, and it doesn't work really well for them, so then they think, oh, social media again. Like, I've been doing everything I can possibly do, and nothing is working. What am I doing wrong? Is that your life? I don't think that I totally believe that that's the case.
Don't worry.
So one of the things that you're doing wrong is that you're not necessarily targeting some realistic goals, probably because you're not really thinking at it in the sense of goals. So another hack when it comes to social media is that what I want you to do is start thinking about what's a realistic result that I could get with this particular content piece. I know I usually get 5 people liking it. Can I push it to 10 people? Is that realistic? Try. See if you can do that. Perhaps you don't even know where to look for these statistics or information that's going to help you get better. So what is it that your community actually wants to hear about? What are you putting out there in content that's exciting to them? Do you know? Now, who here has an Instagram account? Who here has a business Instagram account? Business. Okay. Who here didn't know that there was something called a business Instagram account? Yeah, exactly. So one of the ways that you can find out if your content is actually landing where it's supposed to land is by pressing a little button on your Instagram. And you're going to go and look in your Instagram account now and say convert to business account. As long as you've got a Facebook page, and we know that you're going to get a Facebook page because you want to be able to have a place for your fans to look for that exclusive niche content, right? Then the Instagram will convert to a business Instagram, and it will tell you demographics. When are the people online looking at my content? How exciting was the video that I put up versus the photograph of behind the scenes in my trailer with the shoes that I thought were really great? Over time, you're going to get a feel for which one of these goals or which one of these content pieces are getting you closer to your goal. So go home and definitely start up the business Instagram account and start looking at the metrics or the numbers that are helping you. And I think I've only got one more hack. Not really a hack. This is more your area.
What is it?
Influencers.
Oh, yeah.
The number one way, and this is why you're here, right? You know that we specialize at the Vancouver Web Fest in bringing a bunch of different influencer groups of many different interests into one space. So you're going to be able to learn about what their goals are and how your goals and their goals can work together, right? If you can link your content or your plan to someone else's plan that might have a larger following base or more engaged or anything, these collaborations are going to skyrocket your success very fast.
Just adding something in there too, it's one of the many reasons why getting perhaps a tier 1, maybe getting a story in Variety or something like that when we get that for our clients is such a big deal, is because if it's a story in Variety, then we can take the headline, we can put it out there. And Variety, we're gonna tag Variety, obviously, and we're gonna tag the writer, and I'm gonna tag my editor from Variety that approved the story, etc. And they're all gonna retweet it, and they all have really massive. And then of course your client, right?
Influencer.
Yeah, they're
biggest
all
thing.
influencers. You want to involve them all.
So who brought their camera here today? Get it ready.
Oh yeah.
You need some support. It has to be support more than me. So there are tons of different types of apps that are going to help you organize your time, organize your finding your audience, scheduling out what limited time you do have so that it's not taking up everything. And content editors are going to make that message come across in the most clear way possible. I've got a lot of different types of apps and things for you to take a look at on this slide. But what I want you to do is find one scheduler or planner that fits with your personality the best, one audience finder that works really well for you, and one content editor that is your gold mine. Play around, find these things, and they're going to help you act quickly to get that story out in a way where people are going to love it.
And it's going to make your life easier, a lot easier.
A lot easier. So those are my tips. How do we feel about having some fun and chatting? Yeah?
Do we have time? I think we do.
Who has a time on us here? 12:34. Oh, God. We've got time. We've got 15 whole minutes.
Okay. We have 10 more minutes. Yeah, let's
15
go.
minutes, yeah.
I'm all for talking. Sure, did you have any? Let's just start with questions.
Let's start
Can we
with
just
questions,
throw it open to you guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why they actually want to have a business account on Instagram.
Yep.
Because as of a month or two ago, you can schedule your Instagram account or your Instagram post in your scheduler, and Instagram will finally just post right to your Instagram.
Can you maybe say your name and your handle as well on social media, just so that everyone can hear where that great piece of advice came from?
Because she's an influencer. Just saying.
My name's Shannon Peel, P, and this is why it's going to be important. Oh, sorry, thanks. Hi, my name's Shannon Peel, and it's P-E-E-L, and the reason why it's important is because my hashtag is #MarketAppeal.
See, nice
P-E-E-L.
hook.
Nicely
I
done.
like that hook.
Or book appeal, so either one.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, as she was saying, I mean, Instagram you can now schedule out. It's not something we had the opportunity to do before, but you can now schedule your Instagram posts, and that helps a lot of us because let's get serious. We can take a lot of pictures out there, and you don't want to post them all at once. No. Okay. There was another question I think over in here. I saw some hands up. Anyone?
No more questions? Okay.
Yeah, you got a question? Okay.
Say you do a lot of things. So if I, say, do photography or also act and get into video content that I create myself, should you separate those into different pages on Facebook, or should you have one where it's everything?
Is that you're talking about if you have many different brands that are you,
Yeah.
should you have them over the course of many different Facebook pages, for example, which would also apply to Instagram pages or Twitter pages or LOs or Pinterests or etc., right?
Yeah, that's right.
May I answer
Yeah,
for
for
the
sure.
brand? And you're three again, I'm sorry. You were
So say like you draw, or I draw,
Yeah.
and I act, and I make videos.
Okay. To begin with, because you want to build your brand, you want to build your name, use all of them. You have so much ammunition and things to share. Some of it you're going to want to share, as Steph said before, on maybe anything that you draw up on Instagram that goes. Acting can only be your pictures, but you can do video in other places. So there's different ways that you can showcase your work. But on Facebook, they do it all. So if you were to have your own business Facebook page, I would throw everything in the pot just so that you always have such interesting content going up, and it's never the same. And when you get to the point where you're a huge movie star and people want to know, the media want to know about your drawings, you start separating your lives then.
Okay, great, thanks.
You're welcome.
Great
Okay,
presentation too.
Thank you.
awesome. There was another question? Yes.
Thanks. I shut down my professional Facebook page because I found that a lot of people that were on it were people who were already on my personal page.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt that also too I had the Instagram and I'd share on there. And I did some reading that said you should decide what each one of these things are so you're not putting the same content on all of your platforms and nauseate or exhaust your audience. So I shut that one down because I felt like the people who were on that one were already on my personal one, so I could share stuff on there, and then I could use Instagram to grow beyond. I felt like that was the number one social platform. So hearing this
Yes.
about bringing that back,
Yes.
I can do that, but I don't know what to do with it still.
Okay, so one thing that's really important, I think we're gonna come back to it in just a second. When it comes to dividing out who you are on all these different types of social media platforms, it is more important for you to think of these three things. Know yourself, know your news, know your goals. So if your goal is to connect with individuals that are excited to be on Facebook, then you absolutely have to have a Facebook presence. Now, you may only wish to share on a Facebook page, for example, things that are relevant to individuals that are on Facebook, okay? just like on Twitter, for example, you might want to make that your platform for all of the one-liners in your comedy skit. Maybe that's what you decide to do with that one. Or on Instagram, for example, because it's such a beautiful and visual platform, you might want to find the best behind-the-scenes photographs to put up, or the very, very best intricate, gorgeous sunsets on that documentary that you're a part of about beauty and beautiful Vancouver. Do you know what I mean? So knowing what it is that who you're going to try and have a conversation with on each of the platforms, that makes the decision as to if you should be there or not.
Versus what you should lead with, versus like how you're trying to present yourself, more about the conversation rather than that. That's what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that you have to understand yourself. You have to understand your news, which is that community. Like, are you connecting to your community, and the goal? So if your goal is to basically attract a lot of individuals that you know are hanging out on Facebook, you have to have a presence there. And I recommend, personally, and everyone's got a different yes or no about this, that those master three for personal brands, you make sure you have a presence on each of them, because all like human stuff aside, the robots are changing all the time, and there's no reason you can't have a presence on each. Now, you don't have to share the same thing on each of them. You can make it a little bit different each time, right? You could take one piece of content and like divide it up into 5 different parts about that content.
Sorry, I just didn't mean to step on you. Another answer is, where are you at in your career? That's a real big one, okay? So if you are at the beginning of your career and you're super excited, let's say you get your first, and I'm not suggesting any of you are, but let's say you get your first actor role, you're fine with your one Facebook page, and your friends are really gonna, other actors are really gonna, support you, etc. When you start getting to the part where you're starting to collect fans, and people are starting to follow you, that's, grandma, mom, dad, they're always your number one fans, right? But when you start getting fans outside of the family that you don't know, and they're following you on that great big role that you just got, that's time to put together a professional page that keeps them out of your personal life.
Right.
Yeah.
Does
Answered
that help
it?
a little bit?
Pretty much answered it?
So have that ready before,
Yeah.
or have it when it
I
happens?
would.
Okay.
I would have it ready. I would definitely have it ready. You never want to be on social media unless you actually are putting content on there. So if you have no content to put on at all, don't put the page public yet. But you'll need it. So make sure you have it.
Only you know where your career is.
Yeah.
Right? So that's your goals.
The other reason why you want to have it is if you have something like at
Effect. Mm-hmm.
Group, you want to be able to make sure that you have that when you need it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, claiming...
For actors, it's a bit different because it's their first name, but you're right, when you have a business name, you want to have it separate.
Even if you have a name, like there's other Shannon Peels out there, and there's other people with the same names out there. So if you want to make sure that you have your name and that, then...
Oh, I see what you're saying.
There's a really great app that exists in there. It's not in your resource list, but it's called namechecker.com. Just write it down or something. It's a great way of finding out if your personal brand or your name is on all of the different platforms. It'll just do a search for you. It's a good thing to know.
Does anybody have any more questions? Yes.
Okay.
What is, oh.
Running.
This is bonus.
Hello, my name is Edward. I'm from Malaysia. I have a YouTube channel called Green Film. 180K subscriber, proud.
You have 80K?
180.
180K subscribers?
Yeah, so that's what making
That's
films.
great.
I know.
Influencer, yeah.
Good for you.
We have a team of us, so it's not me.
That's really good.
Yeah, so I have a film at Block 3. Make sure you watch it, called The Last 7, guys. All right. Okay, my questions could be wrong because of different regions and different policies.
Give us a try.
Well, Facebook and Google, they are clamping down on pay-to-view systems. Do you think it's a worth investment?
Okay, Google is clamping down on, I didn't hear the last part.
Pay-to-view, you know.
Paid views.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you don't pay them for ads, it's hard for you to get views from them.
Right, so when it comes to, here's another thing, should I pay to get my brand out there? Or should I just do something called organic reach, where my content is basically calling out for itself? And I feel that it's extremely important that you actually have a direction that your direction that your career is going that's going to get you to whatever your goal is. Now, I get that when it comes to paid, that's a money exchange, and you need to be really specific about this. But if you think that paying for an ad is important to that goal and that plan, that media plan, then I wouldn't worry so much about the crackdown, because these things change pretty much weekly to monthly. If it fills your goal, your plan, your media strategy, then activate it. You might want to test it first. So instead of putting $1,000 towards that campaign, you're going to want to put maybe $100 for 1 week, another $200 a little bit later if it's working.
And do your research.
Yeah.
Find out who's like you in your area and who has paid for ads and what did it do for them.
Even
if
if
they work for it, for their money.
Yeah, when Google crackdowns are technical. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump on that.
It's okay.
But it's still worth it. I still think it's worth it, if it fits in your goal.
Anybody else? Yes. Oh, yeah, no problem.
Done.
I am so glad
No
that
problem.
slide worked.
That one?
Look at that. Thank God that one's not
Okay.
blurry. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm terrified to have this out on the set or anywhere on the site.
Everybody is.
What's
Yeah.
okay with behind the scenes?
Wait.
That's
Yeah.
still honoring the NDA.
Yeah, sure. You need to find out before you go. And obviously, people, when they first start out as actors, is that why you're on the set? Is this
I'm on both sides, but preferably I'm trying to on the other side of it now.
Okay. You need to, first of all, just hit your ADs. You know how the third AD knows absolutely everything? Yeah, talk to them. So it's a split. When you have a publicist, that's stuff I deal with, all of that on your behalf. But if you don't, which is fine, then talk to the ADs. And what they have been putting out more and more these days is when your first day on set is you receive a memo. And it clearly states what the rules are. More and more shows now are saying, for sure, please take lots of behind-the-scenes shots. Just don't post them. And hold on to them. And sometimes they'll allow certain ones out. They'll have a social media day where everybody tweets. It's just as long as nobody's taking pictures of each other in their costume, because, again, that's the storyline spoiler. So every show is different, and they're becoming more and more social media friendly. All right? But take your pictures. But make sure you've got the ADs on your side so nobody yells at you for having your phone out. You say, Holly Carinci, she told me. Don't do that.
I think we might be coming close to our hour. If someone can just double check. Is that right? Yeah. So
Last questions.
last questions,
1,
yeah.
2, 3. Thank you very much for coming, you guys. You guys were awesome.
Before you go, I want to make sure that everyone says it with me. We want you to know yourself, know your news, and then know your goals. And it will bring you across all the media that you come in contact with.
Don't you love that picture? It's
Well,
my favorite graphic of hers. Well, not
thank
everything.
Thank you
Thanks.
very much for coming and talking to us. We're all outside, so ask us individual questions about your plans. We'd be happy to help you set something up.